Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your humble host. Joining me today is President of Right Turn Strategies and free guest on Kennedy Nation on FBN and Waters World on FNC, Chris Barron. Welcome back, sir.
Happy to be back.
You have a new op-ed for the Political Insider, which dropped on Friday. It's titled "The Ted Cruz Fiasco." It's a good reminder. Never apologize to the mob. I particularly like this one because I just found what was going on last week with Ted just ridiculous. Even Joe Rogan today said, well, what could he have done? Could he have made Texas more warm? He stayed.
No, and what's so frustrating about it is that we never learn our lesson.
Restate your theory for everyone who might not have read your op-ed, and they should, but restate your theory. Conservatives should never apologize. Why is that?
They should never apologize for things that are purely PR problems. If somebody makes a policy mistake, if you do something fundamentally wrong policy-wise, you should, of course, apologize for it. I got it wrong. This didn't work. We messed up. If something happens and the optics are bad, it's a bad PR move, well, screw the left. Don't apologize. No amount of apologizing will ever satisfy them. So the best approach Ted Cruz could have taken in this situation is simply to have told the truth. You want to know what? I understand this may look bad, but the fact is there's nothing else that I can do. And if you don't like it, go talk to Andrew Cuomo. He's off busy hiding how many old people he killed. And you people are worried about the fact that I'm going to Cancun with my family.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a man going on vacation. And apparently they had this thing planned for months. So I don't know. I just thought it was just kind of ridiculous how it was just sort of blown out of proportion. But
I admit in my piece, of course the optics are bad. The optics are terrible. And by the way, Ted Cruz is a smart guy. He should have known the optics were going to be terrible. He should have recognized I probably shouldn't do this right now because it's probably not going to be worth the fight. But he's also a smart guy so that he knows that if I'm going to do this, I better be prepared to push back, and that's where he made this mistake. Once you're in, you're in. Once you decided, you want to know what? There's nothing more that I can do for Texas here that I couldn't do from remotely. So there's no reason why I shouldn't go ahead and take my family on this pre-planned trip. By the way, everybody was trying to get out of Texas,
Yeah.
There's really nothing that Ted Cruz could have done. And by the way, Democratic politicians for this entire quarantine have been violating their own quarantine orders to go out and have things at fancy dinners at the French Laundry in California, jetting off to Puerto Rico, all kinds. They've been violating their own quarantine orders. That's not what Ted Cruz did here. Ted Cruz didn't make Texas have a winter storm. He doesn't have that power. He did what every other Texan was trying to do at that moment and get their family to somewhere warmer. Again,
and with power.
Right. So the optics are bad. Okay. Well, then if you decide you go, then you dig your heels in and you say, when they come after me, because they will, because that's what the left does, when they come after me, I'm going to be prepared to defend myself. And instead, Ted had these series of half-baked, mealy-mouthed excuses. At one point, it sounded like he was actually kind of blaming his daughters, maybe, and maybe I was just going to go and drop them off. It was just look, if you're in, you're in. Don't apologize because, like I said, no amount. And he apologized. Have they stopped beating him up over it? No, they're still talking about
worse.
it. Yes,
it just gets worse. So he handled it, pretty awful. That's for certain. What are some other good examples or instances where conservatives basically surrendered the narrative by apologizing?
Well, okay. So there was two parts of my theory here. One is that if you're gonna do this, if your only mistake is an optics mistake or a PR mistake, then don't apologize because you can never make them happy. The second part of this is it's not just the person who shouldn't apologize, but like a conservative opinion leader shouldn't pile on, because the left never does. Our side does it nonstop, incessantly. Like we are the most guilty of our side feeling compelled to speak out think about the 4 years of the Trump presidency and the year and a half of him running for president from 2015 to 2016. How many times did Paul Ryan or Mitt Romney or some other joker feel compelled to come out and opine on something Trump said or Trump tweeted?
Yeah.
Not that it had any policy implications whatsoever. None, zero, zippy, nothing.
Yeah, the blue on blue fire, I couldn't tell last week, who was firing more, whether it was the left or the right. And I'm not the only one who's been wondering about this, for years. But, why do conservatives, always apologize and then pile on each other? And just as importantly, it's like you said, Dems never do that. They always stick together, and there's never any blue on blue fire. Last week, it's like I couldn't tell, who was shooting at Cruz, the right or the left, because everybody was piling on.
Because so many of these folks just want to be liked by the mainstream liberal media and they just want to be liked. They want to feel like they get invited to parties. They don't want to feel embarrassed. So they feel like they have to virtue signal every single time that something happens. It's like the David Frenches of the world, the Jonah Goldbergs, the Paul Ryans and Mitt Romneys. It's all about, like, I want to feel like people view me as not one of those conservatives. And so to do that, what I have to do is I have to beat up on my own team all the time. Like, no matter how sad and pathetic that is, and no matter how much the left never does it. They never, ever, 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 ever do it. They never pile on their own, particularly for something. Look, they don't pile on their own when like I said, Governor Cuomo is off killing old people. Like, they don't pile on him then, like they certainly don't pile on for optics problems, like again, how many times did Trump send out a tweet or say something, and he went after John McCain, and get the fainting couch. They all have to come out and immediately, I condemn this. We're better than this, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you doing? The left is going to do that. They're the political opposition. Like, that's their job. Their job is to attack Republicans. Our job is supposed to be to attack Democrats. The Democrats get that. They never attack their own. But how many Democrats spoke out when Maxine Waters went nuts and said that you gotta, get in the face of Trump administration officials, yell at them, let them know they're not welcome here, they're not welcome anywhere? Was there a single Democrat who said, you want to know what? She crossed the line. It's not something you should say. I don't know of a single Democrat who said that. Not one. Not one. I can promise you, if a Republican would have said that, there would have been 65 prominent Republicans who would come out drooling for the opportunity to get to crap on a member of their own party.
It's sad, man. I don't know what that's all about, other than I'm right. I think it's just sort of about being invited to cocktail parties and, I guess, cruises. David French and Jonah Goldberg and all of the NRO people. They love to go on these cruises because it's the only way that they can raise enough money to keep their magazine from going out of business. It's not as if people are reading these magazines for these people's ideas. It's that you want to go on a cruise and hang out with them. It's bizarre.
There's also this idea that they only want to win a certain way. We only want to win the right way.
It's some kind of there's some sort of virtue in being the type of conservative that they are. Whereas all of us plebs out here who voted for Trump, we're just not in the in crowd. We don't deserve to go to Bushwood Country Club and hang out and have cocktails with David French and S.E. Cup.
You guys wanted to win the wrong way. You guys wanted to win the wrong way. Meanwhile, Dems, this never happens on the other side. They'll
Let me,
do
yeah.
anything, say anything. They don't have any boundaries. They'll use like it's why look, they're talking about invoking the 14th Amendment to try to stop Trump from running again. Something on its face, a reading of the 14th Amendment would make it clear that the presidency is not contemplated by the 14th Amendment, Section 3, because it lists all these offices. It doesn't list the presidency.
Right.
You think that's going to stop Democrats? No, of course not. They don't care.
They'll explore it. Absolutely. I mean, look what they've done thus far. Let me ask you a counter question here. Is there any incident you can think of where a conservative definitely needed to apologize?
Yeah. If you supported the Lincoln Project and their attempts to protect a child predator, then yeah, you should apologize. Anybody who ever had those folks on TV who gave them 1 ounce of time, like, yeah, you should absolutely apologize. You should come out. If you were protecting a child sex predator, you should absolutely apologize. If you send a mean tweet, I don't care. But if you actually were protecting a sex predator, yeah, you should probably apologize. So everybody affiliated with the Lincoln Project and everybody who had them on TV, everybody who gave them time, who gave them money, that you should all apologize. I have no questions. There are times to apologize. That's one.
I would agree. Okay, so we know conservatives need to stop apologizing to the mob. Here's my last question. How do we get them to knock and stop apologizing to the mob? I mean, how many times do we have to do this? Seems like an exercise that we just keep doing over and over again. I do notice that a lot of the MAGA candidates, they don't typically like to apologize. I think they might get it.
I know. And so here's the thing. The answer is we have to start picking better people. And by the way, like we had a really bad run for a while. The George W. Bush, John McCain, Romney, Ryan years produced a plethora of these mealy-mouthed like folks who want to apologize for everything. That's like the whole National Review crowd is a product of that time. The David Frenches, like the this compassionate conservatism. Like you can take that and just toss it out the friggin' window. What we need is we need people who understand that if we're going to win, we have to be willing to play by their rules. I'm happy if they want to play fair and they want to play nice. I'm happy to play fair and play nice. If Democrats don't want to, well, then I'm going to fight the way that they're going to fight. And that's what we have to recognize. There is no valor in losing. There is no honor in losing and giving up our country and getting to say along the way, well, I did it the right way. Well, congratulations. It was a great country while we had it. I mean, they are literally willing to give away basic things that they claim to care so much about because they're afraid of being perceived as doing it the wrong way. Well, I mean, look, if anything over the last 20, 30 years has taught us, so far the only person who succeeded in dramatically pushing real conservative positions and fundamentally changing Washington was Donald J. Trump. And he did it the exact opposite of the right way.
And he got results. These people you're talking about have just been talking for the 30 years about all the things they do. And even when we get guys and us, they never execute.
Well, look,
this is the first time where we've actually, probably since Reagan, where we've seen a president lead a party and actually execute on the principles that he outlined in his campaign. And it was refreshing. It was amazing. It's called winning, and we loved it.
We love it. And by the way, this crowd is not just about like apologizing or condemning. Look when Rush Limbaugh passed. I was absolutely appalled at this same crowd piling on Rush. You know, the Jonah Goldbergs, the David French, these people who, by the way, many of them owe their very existence to Rush Limbaugh. There's no modern day conservatism without Rush. They're not getting a paycheck without Rush Limbaugh, and they can't even for a week shut it down. Not for 1 week can they have the decency to say, you want to know what? Even if we have some differences, we're going to be decent human beings and just shut the hell up for this week. They couldn't because the desire to be loved by the left, the mainstream media, to be accepted by those people trumps everything else. So they're willing to literally go after a man who just died, unable to defend himself, join in with this like cacophony of left-wing harpies, attacking Rush, also that they can, so that they can get invited to cocktail parties. And so people think that they're the right kind of Republican. It's really gross. And we deserve better than this.
Yeah. I mean, David French, everybody at NRO, you're so right. Everybody at National Review would not have a job if it wasn't for Rush Limbaugh. He redefined modern conservatism. Bill Buckley, who founded that magazine, had his time, but his time basically eclipsed with Fireline in the 70s. Nobody watched that, basically, in the 80s. I don't even think it was on. But I mean, Rush is the guy that really lit the flame for, I believe, all the Gen Xers out there who call themselves conservative today.
Is there a single conservative over the age, we'll say between like 30 and 60, who didn't listen to Rush? It didn't have to be religious, but they didn't have a period of their life where that was a part of their daily ritual. Like, I mean, literally, the idea that you would go after the godfather of modern day conservatism so that you could get love from people who hate you and hate everything you claim to stand for is disgusting. And it is part of this desire to be liked and accepted by the other side, which, by the way, the left doesn't care. The left doesn't want to be liked.
Oh, they'll discard Jonah Goldberg and David French and all these people that they forceful now. They'll get rid of them later, like they always do. It was the same when John McCain ran. He was the media darling until he was declared the nominee, and then they went back to hating him. Exactly. So
do you remember the guy who was George W. Bush's press secretary? I can't remember his name now. I wish I would have thought about this before. He quit the administration, and then he wrote this book blasting George W. Bush. And for like a year, he was like the darling of MSNBC and CNN, and like I haven't heard from the guy since. But you know what I mean? Like, because the lifespan of that is limited. Like, the left will use you, they will chew you up and they will spit you out. Like, as the Rick Wilson and Steve Schmitz of the world are learning now, like, all of these friends of theirs supposedly on the left aren't there for them. They don't care. Their usefulness is over. They don't give a crap what happens to them. Rick Wilson can go to prison for all they care.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Essie, right? She signed she sold her soul and she signed the long-term contract with CNN. So she's got some kind of job security, down. But a lot of these people, it's like you said, they're kind of the flavor of the week and then they're discarded. But there's always sort of the useful token disgruntled conservative that CNN needs, on their roster. One or two. Essie's one of them.
Right, but like the amount of useful idiots is like they need a lot less of them now. I mean, how many Jen Rubin, Anna Navarro's, Essie Cupp? It's, by the way, it's why so many of them aren't even pretending to be like disgruntled conservatives now. That it's like the cul-de-sac of, I'm a conservative, I'm mad at Trump, I'm just a regular old liberal who supports every single liberal thing in the entire world. It's amazing how quick you can get around that cul-de-sac, Like, yeah. It is like, I mean, literally, I saw Jen Rubin recently on Twitter talk about how Biden's foreign policy speech was probably the first normal foreign policy speech since Bill Clinton. I thought, she's literally like, she's memory hold 20 years of her own policy positions, like, I mean, she was known as like the biggest, like, pro-Israel, like defender of Israel, like that was her calling card. That's why anybody even cared. Like that's who she was. And now she wants people to memory hold 20 years of her positions into believing that she's just some run-of-the-mill liberal, you know, that like for the last, she's just been waiting for the next Bill Clinton to come along.
Right.
It's the unbelievable gaslighting. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, now that Orange Man is gone, it's kind of like, you know, what do these people do? And there's certainly less to talk about. Twitter is really boring. And politics is really boring. So it's kind of like, you know, what exactly are they going to talk about at this point? They don't have much left. And, you know, and with Joe, you know, with Joe calling it a lid, you know, probably in about 15 minutes, there's not much of the day to report on either.
Yeah, well, just, you know, when Trump speaks on Sunday, they'll have a month worth of material, and every one of these vile creatures who has been, you know, leeching off of a left-wing publication for money will suddenly reappear. Jen Rubin's gonna write a column. SE is gonna be going off. Like, it's gonna be the same cast of characters. And look, they're all desperate now. They all have to prove that there's some relevance. Like, you know, like what's the difference between Anna Navarro and SE Cupp at this point? Like, why do we need?
Well, it's just amazing. Trump's absence has sucked all the oxygen out of the room. There's just nothing going on, and therefore these people who were on this crusade have nothing to do anymore. You know, right. And that's I just find that fascinating, but it's also very revealing. So anyway, sadly, we're out of time. I want to thank Chris for joining me. Chris, give everyone your coordinates so they know where to find you.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris R. Barron. It's always entertaining.
Awesome. Everyone, make sure and check out thepoliticalinsider.com and subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss out any of our stories from our talented writers like Chris. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please like and share this video far and wide. Subscribe to the Political Insider channel on YouTube and Rumble, and so you never miss any of these exciting videos. And until next time, keep the faith and stay frosty. Thanks, everybody.